In this session, we'll dive into something that's often overlooked but is incredibly important: the spiritual purpose of church buildings. When we think about church buildings, it's easy to focus on the practical stuff, keeping them clean, maintaining the heating and cooling systems, and managing event setups. Proper facility maintenance is integral to responsible stewardship, and yet it's essential to acknowledge that a church building serves many purposes in the life of the church. Every one of those roles matters. The building becomes a sacred space where God's presence is honored, people gather to worship, and communities are transformed through the ministries that take place within. When you look beyond the physical aspect of a church facility, it is clear that it's a space set apart for a higher purpose. From the moment someone walks through the doors, they step into a place where God is honored and spiritual transformation can occur. Keeping the sanctuary, fellowship hall, or children's ministry areas running smoothly is part of good facility stewardship. However, what really matters is how the church uses these spaces, how the people of the church grow in their relationship with God and each other as they gather and serve. This idea of a sacred space isn't new. Throughout history, God's people have created spaces of worship intentionally to set apart, to draw attention to the divine. From the tabernacle used by the Israelites in their 40 years in the desert to the Old Testament temples, these were places where God's presence dwelled among his people. It wasn't just a functional building, but a place for people to come and meet with God. When dedicating the first temple, King Solomon said, "The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you, and how much less this temple I have built for you." This suggests that the temple is where we gather to honor God, but it does not limit him or contain him. Rather, it provides the structure we need to focus better. That same principle applies to church buildings today. Church buildings will always have a spiritual purpose. They are designated to facilitate worship, community, and mission. They provide a space where people can connect with God meaningfully. We believe the work of the church facility steward can therefore rightfully be viewed as a ministry position. Preaching the word, evangelizing, and discipleship are all facilitated in our physical spaces. In just a moment, we'll hear from Pastor Jernigan Schwent, the senior pastor of Discover Church. While facility stewardship professionals often focus on the practical benefits, like saving time, money, and ensuring long-term sustainability, Pastor Jernigan will also highlight how those efforts connect to effective spiritual stewardship.
I just fundamentally believe that church should feel way more like a birthday party and a celebration than a funeral service. We worship on Sunday when we're celebrating our risen Lord. And so for us, I don't cast any aspersion on anyone else, but for us, we wanted to have a fun, vibrant, life-giving aesthetic to who and what we are. And so visually, hopefully that comes to life. There's lots of pinks and blues and some grays and some light whites that are offset with some dark colors that create that pop visually. But personally, we also want to be able to match that with the level of enthusiasm that our hospitality teams have, the level of service that they bring. Every week at both of our campuses, we have teams of people that are preparing fresh coffee. We've got pastries, and we set it all out in a way that it's not just here's a donut box, figure it out. Like, no, like we've got utensils and plating and that kind of stuff, because we want it to feel more like a little bit more like a home environment. And so if I was going to invite someone over to my home, I wouldn't be like, well, the donuts are that way. Let me know if you need anything. No. Like, we would host them. We would meet them at the front door. And so we try to do that with both of our environments as well, with our teams and with our branding and visuals. And then we try to match that with some of the language that we use. There's a couple of things that we say pretty prominently, and all of this was kind of it just kind of happened. We often say, and this isn't original to us, but we tell people all the time, like, listen, we don't want something from you, we want something for you. And so we try to model that from the moment that you walk into this space. Like, here's some coffee, there's some donuts, there's some stuff like that. We also say often that Discover Church is a place where strangers can become friends and friends can become family. And that's not just something that we say, it's something that the entire ethos of our church and the people of our church, it's a culture of who we are, that people are friendly, genuinely, not like the weird fake friendly, but genuinely friendly. How are you and what's going on? I just got an email from a wife with 2 little kids. Her husband was not able to come with her to church the first Sunday. But she came to our Liberty campus, and she's like, man, I did this pre-register thing, and they were ready for me when I got there, and I went back to the kids space, and they checked me in. They were expecting me to be there. And then I saw someone from work that I knew. I didn't know that she went to church here, and she was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Why don't you come sit with me and my husband, and I'll introduce you to some of our friends. Like, that kind of stuff happens regularly. And so I would say some of it is some intentional things that we've done with wayfindage signing. Some of it is intentional with what we've done with our branding and our color palette. Some of it is intentional in how we train and raise up our volunteers to serve. And then some of it is stuff that's just kind of been a byproduct of us just collectively saying, we want to be known as a life-giving church. And we define life-giving as, we want to be a place where people can find healing from their past hurts, hope for their present problems, answers to their most burning questions, and a reason to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. Well, if we really believe that, we want to be that kind of place, and everything about who we are and what we do needs to speak a light. It ought to be a breath of fresh air to people as they're walking in the doors.
As we explore this topic further, let's keep in mind that a church is more than just a building. It is also more than a sacred space. It plays multiple roles concurrently, and as facility stewards, our job is to recognize that and ensure that we honor each one. Our church building isn't just a structure. It is a place where God's work happens. It's where lives are changed, community built, and worship takes place. When you care for the facility, you're doing more than just maintenance. You are stewarding a sacred space with a spiritual purpose. You're helping create an environment where people can encounter God, grow in their faith, and experience His love in tangible ways.